We are live. Yes. Welcome back to my channel. And if it's your first time here, welcome. I am Nina. And today we're going to cover part 2 of how to add charm to your personality. If you haven't seen part 1, check it out. I will try and link it up here somewhere. Okay, so let's get straight into it. Part 2. The other things that you can do to add charm to your personality is one, learn to say thank you. This may seem like a little small thing, a really small thing, but it's so big because very few people know how to say this. Now, thank you applies to so many scenarios and so many situations. One of them, and the biggest one as a woman, is saying thank you when you get a compliment. So many women don't know how to say thank you when they receive a compliment. They feel like they have to play the compliment down or pay a compliment right back on the spot, or defer attention from themselves, whatever. Thank you seems to be very difficult to say when it's the simplest, most appropriate thing that you can say. So learn to say thank you when a person gives you a compliment. Just thank you. Oh, thank you. And smile, and that's it. People love giving compliments to people who can accept them. And this can be a compliment from a man, a woman, a child, a family member, a colleague, whatever. As long as it's appropriate, just say thank you and keep it moving. What this does is it, one, trains you to accept and receive good things. Compliments are good things, but it also shows the other people that you are confident in yourself. You don't have to really be arrogant and be like, oh, I know, darling. I mean, depending on the relationship that you have with that person, you could be playful and say that, but just a simple thank you is a very good place to start in terms of accepting compliments. Another way to say thank you is when somebody does something nice for you, instead of feeling like, oh, you shouldn't have, or whatever the case might be. Just say thank you. People will usually do what they want to do. Okay, lots of people are more inclined to do what they want to do. Very few people are going to do something because they feel compelled to do it. So if somebody does something for you that you didn't really ask them to do, and you appreciate what they did because it makes your life easier or whatever the case might be, just say thank you. This is a very simple tip, but it is very difficult for a lot of women because a lot of women don't feel worthy of good things. So they feel like if somebody does something for them, they either have to pay them back to settle the debt or whatever the case might be. A thank you is a very good way to settle a debt. So learn to say thank you, mean it. It is a full sentence, you know, so use it and remind yourself that you are worthy of the goodness that life has to offer. And that is very charming because, people, like I said, they love giving to people who can receive. So once you show that you have that receptivity, then people want to give more to you. All right, so that's point number one. Point number two is related to point number one. It's have good manners. Thank you is a good place to start, but things like please, excuse me, you know, all of those kinds of things. Good manners are exceptionally important and they are exceptionally rare. People don't exercise good manners anymore, and it's really sad. You can see it in your work setting, you can see it in family settings, you can see it in social settings, you can see it in the way people raise their children. People hardly emphasize good manners as much as the generation before. So when you have good manners, then you stand out. And when you stand out, people automatically are drawn to you because they want to figure out what it is about you that makes you so different from the rest, right? So good manners is really up there. Learn to say please, learn to say excuse me, learn to be appropriate in the setting that you are in. Learn to have good manners, learn to treat other people with kindness and respect. Now, a lot of people, especially a lot of women, may think that, you know, if you're the prize or if you're up there or if you're admired or if you're trying to get respect, that good manners are going to undermine this. So a lot of people are rude on purpose just because they think that that conveys a picture of superiority to everybody else. But for me personally, and for a lot of people out there, trust me, somebody who does not have good manners, a person who doesn't know how to speak to other people, doesn't know how to treat other people, that is a big red flag and a big sign of a very low self value, self image that a person has of themselves. So if you think being rude, for example, if you think being rude to wait staff at a restaurant, if you think that gives you the perception, or it gives other people the perception that you are very high class because you don't treat them the way that, you know, you would treat any other human being, then you're very mistaken. Most people that have good manners, most people that are high value, actually treat everybody basically the same. All right. So whether you're speaking to a business owner or an employee in that business, or down to the cleaner in that business, if you don't have a certain respectful manner that you address people, that shows you out more than it shows out the people that you're trying to undermine and undervalue. So remember, good manners are a reflection of high value within yourself. So even when you're speaking to wait staff, speak to them kindly, respectfully. Of course, if you get bad service, then that is another way. then that then there has to be another way for you to deal with that, right? You don't have to just take anything that everybody throws at you, but you don't have to lose your good manners either. You can still be very firm and still be very appropriate. All right, so say thank you when you receive a compliment and have good manners. Okay, that's very charming. The next tip, my third tip on how to add charm to your personality, is make sure that you groom yourself on a daily basis. Now, this goes beyond taking a shower, even though that is very important. But this also goes to little details, like making sure that if you have makeup on, make sure that your makeup looks good, right? Your skin is clean and all of that good stuff. Make sure your hair is clean. Make sure your nails are clean. Make sure your clothes are clean. Make sure that they're pressed, they're not creased. Steam your clothes as much as possible. All of that good stuff. Once again, this shows attention to detail. It shows that you really care about yourself. And when you show that you really care about yourself, people automatically put you on that pedestal that you have put yourself on. And that is basically people falling under your spell, people being charmed by you. So make sure that you take time out every day to do the necessary grooming. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to go all out every single day, right? If that's your style, go ahead, girl. But, sometimes you don't have like your extensions or your nails on or whatever, but make sure that all your natural stuff also looks good, right? So that if you're not wearing makeup, your skin still looks good. If you're not wearing nails, long nails, your natural nails still look good. If you don't have extensions in your hair needs to look good. I would go one step further and say, even if you have all those things on, even if you have all those extensions on, still make sure that your actual hair, your actual nails are still being taken care of. Your actual skin is still being taken care of. This just shows that you care about yourself. And when you show the world that you care about yourself, the world sees you in that light. When you show the world that you don't really care about yourself, you cannot expect people to give you treatment that you don't give yourself, right? So if you don't wake up and make sure that you look good every day, as much as possible, you cannot expect people to treat you a certain way. If you rock up at work looking raggedy, you can't expect your colleagues and your boss to take you seriously. You can't expect your clients to take you seriously if you run a business. So you have to take your standard and see that as how people are going to treat you. If you treat yourself as a second class, third class, last class citizen, then you can't be surprised when people treat you like that. And I think this is such a key note because a lot of people get frustrated with how other people treat them and they don't take time to look at themselves and how they treat themselves. You have to treat yourself as the most important person in your universe. Then the world around you will reflect that. If you're not able to put yourself on that level of esteem, you cannot expect anybody else to do that for you. Okay, so make sure you groom daily, you smell good daily. If you shave, make sure you shave. Everything looks pristine as much as possible, right? And then my fourth tip is embrace your quirks. We live in a world of perfectionism where everything needs to be perfect all the time. And as much as it is important, like I said in the previous point, to take care of yourself because you're teaching people how to treat you, but it's also important to embrace your imperfections because that's what makes you human. It's a very interesting dynamic. So people want you to be yourself even at your best, if you get what I'm saying. So if you look at some of the most sought after actors or entertainers or whatever the case might be, they may be, okay, let's look at women. They may be exceptionally beautiful, but they're also somewhat flawed. Now, this is just a human thing that we relate to people who are not perfect because we are not perfect. So, as much as we really admire people that have or live a certain lifestyle that we aspire to, we prefer to be around people that are relatable. This also applies to dating. So men will be very attracted to a very beautiful woman, but they'll also be really turned off or really intimidated by somebody who's too perfect because she's not relatable. Same with women, will be attracted to a guy that's attractive, but if he's just too perfect, it's not relatable because you feel like when your imperfections show up, he's not going to know how to handle them because he doesn't have any flaws. So the aim is not to be flawless. The aim is to embrace your quirks because that's what makes you unique. This is something that I have tried to get into this year because I've always been one of those people that if it's not perfect, we're not putting it out there, right? From photos to videos to content to whatever. If it's not perfect, we're not putting it out there. But sometimes, and that's what I figured out this year, sometimes when I put something out there that I deem as not perfect, maybe I make a video and I'm not really like my most bubbly self, those are the things that people tend to be more drawn to because it's more relatable. And that is something that I am actively working through in my own life to make sure that I don't hinder my growth looking for perfection. I actually embrace the quirks. Sometimes that is what people like the most about you, your quirks. Sometimes that's what you like the most about you. But we usually try to repress it because we think people aren't going to accept it. So embrace your quirks. And the more that you embrace your quirks, the more that people find you relatable, the more that people are actually drawn to you, and the more that people will consider you to be charming, right? Because you're more comfortable in your own skin. You're all right with yourself. And that is probably one of the most charming things that you can have in your personality, that level or sense of being comfortable in your own skin and walking around like that, right? So embrace your quirks. That's what makes you unique. All right, so those are the 4 points that I wanted to share with you today: how to add charm to your personality, say thank you, practice good manners, groom yourself on a daily basis, and embrace your quirks. I hope this video was helpful, and if it was, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.